So picture this, you're standing on the deck of a ship that's literally alive. Not just metaphorically alive with crew and activity, but genuinely, magically sentient. The ship knows you, remembers you, feels your emotions. Now imagine that ship is about to wake up for the first time, and multiple people believe they have the rightful claim to bond with it. Add pirates who want to steal it, family betrayal, and a magic system that'll make your skin crawl in the best possible way, and you've got Robin Hobb's ship of magic. But here's the question that drives everything in this book. What happens when the thing you believe you own turns out to have a mind and heart of its own? What do you do when your inheritance, your birthright, your entire identity is wrapped up in something that can suddenly look you in the eye and say no? That's the question Robin Hobb forces every character in this book to wrestle with, and by the end of this podcast, you'll understand why this single question makes Ship of Magic one of the most emotionally devastating and thought-provoking fantasy novels you'll ever read. Welcome to Visual Fantasy Book Recommendations, the channel dedicated to fantasy and science fiction book summaries, reviews, and recommendations. It is very helpful if you hit the like, comment, subscribe, and share. Help build my channel, and let's take a look into the best fantasy and sci-fi realms out there. Today, we're diving deep into this first installment of the Liveship Traders trilogy, and trust me, if you're looking for that next fantasy series to absolutely wreck you emotionally while keeping you glued to the pages, you need to hear this. All right, let's set the scene without spoiling anything, because this book deserves to be experienced fresh. Ship of Magic takes place in a world where certain ships are carved from wizardwood, and after 3 generations of family members die aboard them, these vessels quicken into living, sentient beings called live ships. Pretty wild concept, right? These aren't just magical ships, they're family members, companions, witnesses to generations of secrets and stories. The story centers on a merchant family in Bingtown, a trading society built on tradition and old money. Their family live ship is about to awaken, and multiple family members have different ideas about inheritance, duty, and who has the right to bond with a sentient ship. You've got the daughter who grew up at sea and believes the ship is her destiny. There's family members who married in and have their own ideas about honor and tradition. There's the former crew member with a troubled past who gets caught up in the family's conflicts. But this isn't just a family drama on the waves. Hobb gives us multiple perspective characters across different worlds. There's a pirate captain in the lawless pirate isles with grand ambitions and a ruthless plan that involves capturing a live ship for himself. There's a young man torn from his spiritual calling and forced into a life at sea that challenges everything he believes about himself and the world. The book weaves between these different perspectives and locations, showing us how one family's ship awakening sends ripples through an entire world. There's political tension as old merchant families struggle against social change. There's the deep mystery of what live ships actually are and where wizardwood comes from. There are hints of ancient magic and creatures that suggest the world is far stranger than anyone realizes. And underneath everything, there's this profound exploration of what it means when something you thought was yours, your inheritance, your future, your identity, turns out to have its own consciousness, its own needs and desires that might conflict with yours completely. It's about control and freedom, about the stories families tell themselves, and about what happens when those stories start to crack. Now let's talk about why this book works so incredibly well, because Robin Hobb doesn't mess around when it comes to character work. The woman is a master at creating people who feel absolutely real in all their messy, contradictory, frustrating complexity. What makes Hobb's characters so compelling is that none of them are simply heroes or villains. The daughter who feels entitled to her inheritance isn't wrong to feel that way, but she's also not entirely right. The pirate antagonist is disturbing and ruthless, but Hobb makes you understand the psychology behind his actions in ways that are both compelling and deeply uncomfortable. The spiritual young man forced into maritime life brings questions about consciousness and identity that reshape how you think about the entire story. Every perspective character believes they're justified, and Hobb has the skill to make you see why, even when their actions hurt others. This moral complexity runs through everything. You'll find yourself rooting for characters even when they're making terrible decisions. You'll understand antagonists even when what they do is reprehensible. Hobb doesn't give you easy answers about who deserves what or who's truly in the right. She trusts you to sit with that ambiguity and wrestle with it yourself. The themes in this book run deep. There's the obvious exploration of family expectations versus personal desire, of tradition clashing with change. But then Hobb goes further. She's interrogating ownership and autonomy in ways that get more pointed as you read. When something you've been raised to believe is your property suddenly has thoughts and feelings of its own, what does that mean for your identity? For your future? For your understanding of right and wrong? The live ships themselves become this powerful metaphor for consciousness and free will. They're beautiful and magical, but their existence raises uncomfortable questions. What does it mean that they're created through death? What happens when their desires conflict with their families? The more you learn about them, the more complex the moral landscape becomes. And can we talk about Hobb's writing style for a minute? Because this woman knows how to build tension and emotional investment like few others in fantasy. Her prose isn't flashy or purple, it's clear and direct, but she has this way of getting under your skin. She'll spend time on small, intimate moments that reveal character, and then she'll gut punch you with emotional stakes that you didn't even realize were building. The pacing might feel slow to some readers, especially if you're used to more action-heavy fantasy, but every scene is doing work. Every conversation matters. She's playing the long game, setting up emotional dominoes that she'll knock down when you least expect it. She rewards careful readers who pay attention to the interior lives of her characters. The world building deserves special mention because Hobb creates this maritime culture that feels lived in and real. The trading society has its own social hierarchies, prejudices, and politics. The pirate culture operates by different codes entirely. And the live ships themselves, with their mysterious origins and the secrets of their creation, generate this sense that there's always more beneath the surface, more to discover. She doesn't info dump, she reveals through character experience, which makes the world feel organic rather than constructed. One thing to mention, this book absolutely requires patience. If you're looking for non-stop action and epic battles, this might not be your jam. Hobb is more interested in the interior lives of her characters and the slow burn of emotional and political conflict. The payoffs are enormous, but you have to trust her to get you there. Also, be warned, this is book one of a trilogy, and while it has its own arc, you're definitely going to want the next book ready to go because the emotional investment is real. So who is this book for, and what was Hobb trying to do here? I think she's writing for readers who want their fantasy to engage not just their sense of adventure, but their emotional intelligence and moral complexity. This is for people who love character-driven stories where the biggest conflicts happen inside people's hearts and minds as much as in the external plot. If you loved The Goblin Emperor for its emotional nuance, or if you're a fan of Hobb's other work like the Farseer trilogy, you'll probably love this. If you liked the maritime setting of The Lies of Locke Lamora or the complex family dynamics in The Curse of Chalayan, give this a shot. Hobb seems deeply interested in exploring what happens when people are forced into circumstances that challenge everything they believe about themselves and their world. She's asking questions about identity, about what we inherit from our families versus what we choose for ourselves, about the cost of ambition and the price of freedom. These aren't simple adventure stories. They're examinations of what it means to be human, told through the lens of really good fantasy. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. Ship of Magic is going to mess you up in the best way possible. It's going to make you care deeply about people who make terrible choices. It's going to make you think about questions of freedom and identity that linger long after you close the book. It's going to introduce you to a magic system that's both beautiful and disturbing, and a world that feels as real as looking out at the ocean. This isn't light reading. This isn't the fantasy you pick up for escapism and easy answers. This is the fantasy you read when you want to feel everything, when you want characters who surprise you and break your heart and make you question your assumptions. Robin Hobb doesn't coddle her readers or her characters, and that's exactly why she's one of the best in the business. If you're ready for a maritime fantasy epic that puts character and emotional stakes front and center, if you want a magic system that'll stick in your brain for years, If you're prepared to commit to a trilogy that'll have you scheduling your life around reading time, then pick up Ship of Magic. Just make sure you have the sequel ready, because you're absolutely going to need it. And that's our deep dive into Robin Hobb's Ship of Magic, the first book of the Liveship Traders trilogy. Trust the journey, embrace the complexity, and prepare yourself for one of fantasy's most emotionally resonant series. Until next time, happy reading, and may your ships always find fair winds and following seas. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.